Thanks for joining us for John Hook's Newsmaker Saturday. Obviously, I'm not John Hook, filling in for him on this particular show because he's on vacation, and I'm happy to be here on so many levels. Our topic today is one that is near and dear to my heart. It has to do with veterans, it has to do with a community that's rallying around them, and it has to do with a young woman who had an idea that she thinks can help solve the homeless crisis, especially among veterans. Take a look.
Welcome to V13, or Veterans Village, on 13th Avenue in Buckeye. It's a community of tiny homes built just for military veterans.
It took us 3 years to get here, going through our permitting, zoning, and just even designing these homes.
Elizabeth Singleton, president of Build Us Hope, says each unit is designed to be sustainable, affordable, and comfortable. The group aims to give homeless veterans a place to live.
We've gotten a lot of support from the veteran community and our next builds and from organizations across the state and the nation.
2-stove burner or a refrigerator, plenty of storage, as you can see.
Lisa Montgomery helped design and build the homes from the ground up.
When I came on, there was nothing here. It was just an empty lot. And I spent many hours, enjoyable hours, just doing whatever I could do.
They're about 288 square feet, a kitchen, a living room, and all the necessities.
We have everything in here that a person needs to live comfortably.
We created the gardens, and we also created 2 spacious areas where they could sit and communicate, have a barbecue, and just, you know, it was a lot more space than we thought we would get out of the site.
Their message of hope has reached across the country to Washington, D.C. They've been invited to the first ever Department of Housing and Urban Development Innovative Housing Showcase at the National Mall next month. Singleton sees it as the perfect opportunity to spotlight Arizona and expand the tiny home movement for veterans.
We've all given our heart and soul to make sure that we presented the right model, quality housing, and that we represent Arizona well.
Christina Carilla, Fox 10 News.
Build Us Hope went to D.C. They had an idea. They had their tiny homes for vets. Elizabeth Singleton, thanks so much for joining us. First, we have to ask, how was the trip to D.C.? Was it well received?
Yes, it was quite amazing. I was very surprised to see how welcoming the Department of Housing was towards tiny home communities, but the people there as well. It was really worth the trip, and we were really honored to be there.
Other than saying, okay, this is a good idea, are they going to help? I mean, are they going to fund? Are they going to push? Are they going to support?
So what I gathered from us being there and from our ongoing conversations is, yes, they're really pushing to see tiny homes as the innovative model for affordable housing, for our affordable housing crisis, and for a way to end homelessness. So they were looking for, you know, small platforms that were still affordable and innovative to move us forward and to also help us with this housing issues that we're having currently. So
You met Ben Carson.
I did.
And he also, we have file of him now, he also is very intrigued, interested, and supportive of the concept of tiny homes for vets as well.
Yes, he's not only supportive for our veterans, which he really supports, but he sees it as an affordable housing model. And he basically lived at our tiny house. I was very thankful.
Did he really?
Yeah, he did. He visited quite a bit, did several interviews there. So I was really taken aback, and I was very thankful that the secretary would promote tiny homes in the way he did.
Because talk about a platform. I mean, he's a HUD, Secretary of Housing. I mean, that's a big deal.
Yeah.
So support from him could mean a lot in terms of pushing and moving the project forward. Is that happening? Is he coming? He's coming, right?
Yeah. We are hoping to see him in September at our groundbreaking ceremony.
Wow.
But not only that, he's pushing forward for FHA financing for tiny houses on foundation, and for more support for tiny houses on wheels. But as for program-wise for veterans, to get that in the spotlight, to see tiny homes as a way to end homelessness amongst our vets and amongst individuals who need affordable housing.
Now, you mentioned tiny houses on wheels, tiny houses on foundation. Big difference between the two in what terms of cost, or tell me, like, what's the difference?
So tiny houses on wheels, of course, is a tiny home that is built on a trailer bed that is mobile, and then tiny houses on foundation is built basically on foundation, regular stick builds.
And what would the purpose of being on wheels be? That's how I should have put the question,
Well,
actually. Where are you going?
So, if you're, when people who see tiny houses on wheels, Secretary Carson also saw the same thing, is that we have a moving society right now, so people don't stay working in the jobs they used to, like, before 30, 40 years. Now they're moving around, they're finding their place in different states, so it is easier for them to pick up and move their home instead of starting all over again, especially if you've put all your savings into a home and now you get a job somewhere else, you need to move there. Now you have to start all over again. And can you even find a home or qualify for a home? So he sees that mobility purposes, and also millennials are looking at the same models. And then with the foundation, of course, it's there, and but it still gives you that small footprint. It's sustainable. We haven't received a bill over $20 in our electrical bills, so
$20?
Yeah, most of it's in fees. so
Wow.
your cost savings, the sustainability component of it, both on wheels and foundation.
A
Foundation.
$20 electric bill? Wait, back up here a minute. $20. Yeah, I mean, you get the electric bill, you
20.
open it up, and you owe like APS/SRP
You
$20.
You owe them a whole bunch of fees, and then you finally
Wow.
get to a $10
Okay,
bill.
that's impressive.
So yeah.
Okay, and quite doable. That is fantastic. All right, so when we come back, we're going to talk about how we got here, how we got to this crisis, how Elizabeth was noticed the crisis, and how she decided to jump in and do something about it. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Newsmaker Saturday. I'm Linda Williams, sitting in for John Hook, diving deep into a problem that you may see as you drive to and from work or just out and about in the valley, and that is the homeless problem. And then within that, the homeless veterans problem. And we are being joined today by Elizabeth Singleton. She is the CEO and founder of Build Hope.
Build Us Hope.
Build
Yeah.
Us Hope. And you have done more than just drive by and shake your head and feel bad the way all of us do, because veterans have given so much to this country and now they're living in the heat on the street. You have moved to do something about it, and that is to provide them with houses that they can afford and dignity.
Yes.
The challenge is, and I know this because I have covered homeless encampments. There was one in Sunny Slope, I'm going to say 2 years ago. It was called Camp Alpha, and it sprang up outside of a vacant building in the Sunny Slope area. And veterans came and they really enjoyed themselves there. They built an encampment. It was like, I think, for them being back at boot camp. They had fires at night. Everyone had a job. You had mess duty. You had all your duties. And it was kind of like being on a base again for them. And then there were all kinds of ordinances that they were breaking, so that broke up. But I think much of the problem when it comes to veterans who don't step into the many housing options that people say are out there is that they want a certain freedom. Is that part of the challenge, the reason why we see hundreds on the streets?
Well, I think the amount of people that you see that people think they want to be on the street is a little lower number than you would look at. And
Okay.
so there's individuals who have tried every program. If I get into a program, a homeless program or a transitional program for 30 days to 6 months, but I'm not ready yet. When I was homeless, it took me more than 6 months to get back on my feet. So if I have a 6 months program, even sometimes a year program, I may not be ready process trying to get a job. Most people who've been on the street probably have some type of criminal record now, from trespassing to maybe stealing to eat, or whatever the situation is. They may have a criminal record now, so trying to get a job through that,
Right.
trying to find housing through that. So the supports that need to be put in place really needs to recognize the length of support that they need, and then at the time frame. If we continue to focus on transitional housing, or the individual's always in transit, and so they don't know if they're going to be where they're going to live the next month or two. It does put a lot of pressure on the individuals. Why should I give up my dog, my home, my friends, my buddies I met out here, and move into something I'm going to have to get out in 30 days, which I know it's going to be difficult for me to find a job. So why move into that type of format? And then mental health is another concern.
And that's what I learned with the people who I spoke with at Camp Alpha. They, I'm not saying that those programs were perfect for them, because obviously they weren't, but they found a sense of camaraderie and a sense of belonging there. And they got to smoke a cigarette if they wanted to. They got to have their dog. And it's like, so you would rather be on the street with your dog than be in some program in air conditioning without? And the answer is, yeah, I actually would. It's my best friend.
Well,
this
that's
is
probably
this is my comfort. This is why
their medicine
I can
too.
Yes,
their support.
Exactly.
So it's hard for you to give up something that has been helping you get better, which could be your friend on the street, or it could be your animal, or it could be drugs.
Which is why tiny homes, I'm circling back
Yeah.
around to why it works. It's your space.
Yeah.
You can have a pet there. You can walk your dog. You can have a garden. And that's why it just seems like it is an excellent solution.
Well, most tiny house communities are built as pocket communities, where they centralize around some center where there is a garden, or a sitting areas, or barbecue areas, or a community center. So it always centers around the centers to bring everyone together. And the tiny house pushes you out into the community. It's a small space, and it pushes you out to your neighbors. We all used to sit on the corner blocks, and if we were getting in trouble, our parents knew right away, because the police were the neighbors. They were
Right.
watching us, and everyone knew each other. So now we just pull up into our garages, we shut our garage door, we go into the door, into our home, and we never speak to our neighbors anymore. And so people are missing that type of community, that type of support. And what we found out in talking to many of veterans, they love the fact that they could see each other, at the same time have their own private space, have this porch to be able to talk on, or sit out and enjoy themselves, and then have their pets. But at the same time, they have this support within their community. They still have this one-on-one time, where I can sit down with you, eat together, and share together.
Right.
So the tiny houses seems to is bringing people back to simplicity, bringing them back to speaking to each other, and creating that, again, sense of community that we were missing.
On so many levels.
Yeah.
I have covered a tiny house community. There's one in the community of Vail, and this is geared towards teachers.
Correct.
Totally different thing. Tiny, they're there because they are making very little money, not enough to actually afford a house in the community of Vail. The school district said, why not tiny houses for teachers? And so they got together, they bought a piece of land, and they started building them. Not the same concept, I think 900 square feet, that kind of thing. But same thing, sense of camaraderie.
Correct.
Teachers, we get together at the end of the day, we grade papers. We do
The
things
support.
together. Yes,
Yeah, the support.
phenomenal support. Why not do that for veterans? It is a great idea.
Go ahead.
What has been who's been your biggest cheerleader? Who has come along and said, okay, build us hope. We are here. We got your back. What do you need?
Well, I have to say there's been several entities and agencies who have helped us. I would definitely say that Greenlight Solution and ASU has really been supportive to what we've been doing. Linderoff and Associates, which has been the architects, has been supporting us. And I would say my biggest supporter is my daughter, who was like, Mom, why are we out here continuing to feed these people? Why don't we build them tiny homes? So I would
God
have to
love
say
her.
she would be. But
Here's to your daughter.
I would have to say she is, and then I think my son who serves has really been supportive.
He's in the Army.
He's in the Army, and he's been supportive with his friends and sharing it and talking about it.
But you said you have a personal reason also. You are motivated by so many things, but your son and him serving in the Army motivates you in what regard?
Well, I think about if something ever happened to me and my son had to leave the military, and he really didn't have the supports that I see that sometimes they come out of not having, even though the military is very supportive, but some of them are very young and they come out, and if something was to happen to him mentally where he found himself on the street. I know the process of working in this field for 18 years and working with veterans and people living with mental illness, or just in our affordable low-income brackets, and the lack of the services that I was seeing for those individuals kind of scared me. And
You thought my son could be in real trouble if
Yeah.
something happened, I weren't here, and he could be on the streets
he
standing
could be
there.
he could be he could be on the street. He could be where I was before myself. But biggest passionate thing I think got to me was when the men's overflow shelter closed downtown, and I saw all
Okay,
those,
the men's overflow shelter is a shelter that's it's a segment of Cass, right?
Correct.
And how long ago was it that it closed? And
So I believe that was in 2015 when it closed, and
you went down.
I went down and we tried to negotiate with them, and I saw the individuals who had dogs and who were working and who maybe were couples were not really able to find housing for them when it was closing, and I think it just kind of broke me at that point in time. Like, we really don't have options. Like, we're not focusing on the solutions that we really have. And I, again, go back to my daughter. I'm down there feeding after a protest, and she says, why don't we build, tiny homes? Why don't you talk about the solution? I think, look into tiny homes, and that took me onto a 2-year span of studying and looking up what was so attractive about tiny homes.
So it didn't break you.
It didn't
It
break
just
me.
momentarily your head popped off.
It really-
But it didn't break you. Somehow, I think it built some steel in you and some resolve.
I think it broke me just to see that us as a society, that we're a wealthy nation, that we still have this type
And we
of
pushed
homelessness.
dozens of people out onto the street with nowhere to go.
Yeah, but it also made me think, like, we have the solution. I was going to multiple meetings, everyone talking about the problem and what the solution could be. And even though we know the solution of that, in order for someone to heal from homelessness and to recover, and to also not be a tax burden to the community, is to get them into successful housing. And so why aren't we working on the solution and focus on that more? Was very important to me. And then finding out, like, what could we do with these little small lots around here? Figure out what we could build on a faster scale, and then maximize the density and give home ownership. The focus too is for people to be able to own their own home, have that American dream. Just because you're homeless doesn't mean that you can never be a homeowner again. So those opportunities all were wrapped up inside of the tiny house communities.
Let's go to the logistics, because when you said that, home ownership, I immediately went, oh yeah, there's a mortgage. I don't know what that mortgage is, but how do they afford it?
So tiny houses, and I don't want to just to say tiny houses are only for homelessness, but it is a form to end the type of homelessness that we have, because when people can find and live in housing that they can afford, that's affordable housing. It's just not low income housing.
Right.
So individuals, even those who are coming off the street, who may have a form of income, maybe Social Security, or those who are able to get back on their feet and get a job, tiny homes can range from $200 to $500 a month in a mortgage payment, or even rent. So that gives a capability for someone to actually be able to afford at that level. They would be just paying off on rents or even hotels or fees. So we're looking at how can we keep this in an affordable model, clean and safe, we didn't want a one-room tiny home, which that's a form of shelter.
Right.
But we wanted to actually give that person a sense of home. So when you
Right.
go into these homes, you have high ceilings, you have space that you can find, you have a kitchen and a bathroom and a living area. But then again, you have that community, that porch that pushes you out, large porches. So we wanted to focus on how do we build this model affordable, community-wise, and that our neighbors would see that this is a marketable value. So all of that had to be taken into consideration upon our sustainability as well. So,
And you're doing it. What is the next step?
our next step right now, we are working on our second community. It will be 8 to 10 tiny homes. And so we're very happy about that for veterans, but we also are happy to see that our city is waking up to the need for tiny homes and how that they can address either our homeless or workforce housing or affordable housing need. For us, our next step is building these 8 to 10 homes, and of course we need plenty of support and
Yes.
on that.
What are the? Do you know the cross streets already, or you?
So, yeah, 17th Avenue and Desert Cove.
Which is that's north of
It's just north of Peoria. Yeah.
Right.
And it's in a gated community type environment, and so they'll be able to look at the beautiful mountains at the same time, be able to live in their tiny home. So, and that project is a community build as well. And we were granted a $100,000 grant from Standard Customers Insurance. I just want to make sure I thank them for that.
Thank you, Standard Customers Insurance. No, absolutely.
No, I want to definitely thank them for
Give
supporting
love
us.
to the people who
Correct.
support the community.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And they got us on our way to be able to start this next community. So we definitely are looking for donations of materials, of services, and to support us through this process.
How much does it cost to build a home? Each home again?
So the homes that will be there that we're building will be between 288 square feet and 500 square feet. So that ranges from 30 to 45,000 for us to build and complete out.
Okay.
And that is ground development too. So people don't put that into consideration when they're thinking of building. When you have to build site builds, you have to add additional cost.
Okay. I can't believe this time has flown, but let me ask you really quick. Ben Carson is here when again?
So he will be coming down hopefully in September when we do our first when we do our groundbreaking.
All right.
And we're looking forward to that and thankful for him and his support. And then we're going to have our first volunteer build for this new coming July 10th, so people can go to our website and
Your website again is?
It's buildushope.org.
Buildushope.org. Yes. As someone who, I'm an emotional person, that, who drives by and I see homeless people. I mean, I don't just look I see them. I wonder why they're here. I wonder what happened. Some of them have signs that say that, what can people like me, the community, what can we do? I don't know how to build. I don't have $1 million.
Yeah.
But I want to help.
Well, you can always answer phones and you can always promote it, and you can, for individuals you see on the street, giving that dollar to them is not going to solve their issue. It does help them in that moment. But volunteering in programs that actually support and are willing to make change is going to be the most positive and effective way you're going to be able to support them. And volunteering for us, you don't have to build. You can help us with promotions, for asking for things that we may need to build and support, and just being supportive to us. So,
all right.
Yeah.
Buildushope.org. Something we'll check out. Thank you for sharing your story. Thank you for sharing your idea, and a brilliant one it is, Elizabeth Singleton.
I appreciate it.
Proud to know you. You're making a heck of a difference.
Thank you.
Stay with us. We'll be right back. Thanks again for joining us for John Hook's Newsmaker Saturday. I'm Linda Williams filling in, and it was fun. I hope you enjoyed it as well as we learned more about vets, tiny homes, and Build Us Hope.